Hello everyone, I'm Melanie Stewart of the Silver Crow Method.
And I'm Mike Goodicke, the founder of the Silver Crow Method and the Social Network Shaman.
So we're here today to speak about shamanism. What is shamanism? So we thought we'd give a talk about shamanism one-on-one, just like the basics. Just give us, if someone out there has no idea what shamanism is about, this would be a great conversation for them to listen to.
Yeah, cool. I think that's awesome. Yeah. So shamanism is, the textbook definition is, it's an animistic based belief that a lot of different cultures throughout the world have used in the past, where there was a connection with the earth, a connection with energies, and it was basically the precursor to what we think is modern day psychology. So you had medicine people that basically took care of the tribe and the community, and they had that type of leadership to basically help them navigate certain things in life. The modern interpretation, or my interpretation using the Silver Crow Method, is that shamanism is a system in which we can find better understanding in the energies that are around us, and also use the aspects of that animistic type of, not religion, but the belief systems, to take a look at the natural world and how it influences us in the modern world.
Very cool.
A lot more, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so a big part of it is relationship with earth and plants and animals.
Right. Let's get into that for a second. So the relationship to the earth, from an academic perspective, we know, for instance, that the earth has frequencies, whether they're Schumann resonances, etc. And we do know that these different frequencies, they implement or they impact the body, because we consist of, 60-70% of water. And we do know that frequencies and energy through water changes the state of the way in different ways. So if you think about that from an academic or scientific perspective, we know that the earth has frequencies. These frequencies impact everything else. We think that that's energy, and that manifests itself in certain ways through quantum physics or atoms, electrons, and stuff like that. From another perspective, though, those energies, since we know that they impact us in some kind of way, shamanism tries to give us a way, shape, or form in trying to define how those energies, how we work with those energies, and how those energies influence us over time. And more importantly, kind of like quantum physics, the things that we focus in on, our intentions, that creates a lot of our reality, because the intentions that we have for something form our decisions that we make in daily life. And those decisions that we make in daily life, they basically form our lives on an ongoing basis in the present.
Right, so we're constantly creating our reality with how we interact with the world around us.
And decisions that we make,
Yeah.
You're right. Well,
So,
interact,
Yeah, so how is interacting in the world in accordance to shamanic practices influence how our reality could shift and change?
Okay, so in shamanism in general, like a universal interpretation, is that we deal with these different energies, and that flow of that energy does certain things. So, for instance, the connection to Earth is our mother, our Gaia. It is basically great-grandmother Earth when you're talking about the indigenous tribes, some of them. And great-grandmother Earth, it basically gives us the basis for life. It gives us plants, it gives us food, it gives us water, it gives us a ground that we can build our house on, it gives us the wood for fires that we can heat up our homes. It gives us a lot of different things, and the shamanism belief is that you only take the things that you need, and you try to find that balance in that. But you also try to find your balance in all things. So for instance, if you are a meat eater, some of the things that shamanism teaches us is that every sentient being has thoughts, has a justification for existing. So if you're, for instance, a hunter and you hunt an animal to survive, some of the different shamanic tribes, or some of the different tribes out there, would basically say, I thank you for giving your life to me so that I can eat you and sustain my life to do the things that I'm meant to do. When I'm done, my body will flow back to the earth, and when I decompose, that will give food for plants and everything else, so that it's an endless cycle of things that happen.
So what about shamanism in a spiritual manner? How can we use that for a spiritual connection?
So I think shamanism teaches us that since the energy is out there, and that people have certain types of energy, that we can connect with that energy, whether we open up our hearts in the cacao ceremony that we talked about previously, whether it's understanding the emotions from other people if they want something positively or negatively from us. The way that we use these energies and the way that we manifest energetically in the world impacts everything around us. So, for instance, from a negative perspective, there are people that are basically vampires. That's what they call that. What that basically means is we have like a soul or an energy. That energy influences what we do, the decisions that we make, and what our state is. When we have that energy and it's negative, then we make decisions that are negative in fact, and they influence people in a bad way. When we use that energy and we focus on the positive things, we make positive decisions, and it impacts people in a positive way. And the same thing is around everything around us. When we respect nature, when we respect other beings, other people, when we open up our heart and we try to do the right thing and good things for other people, that inspires other people doing good things to others, and that creates something that we call the web of life, where we put in healing into it. So the web of life is also a concept in shamanism that goes back to a lot of the different tribes, where the entire universe was pictured as a web. And in that web, all the different types of things that we do have a connection to something else. We're connected to all the animals around us. We're connected to all the human beings around us. We're connected to all the sentient beings and beings in general that are around us. So the decisions that we make, the way that we live our life, the way that we are working with those other beings that are around us, that influences the web of life.
It's oneness. It all goes back to the one.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I first started flirting with shamanism, I really enjoyed the animal meetings. You know, whenever I interacted with an animal out in the wild, or I kept seeing an animal online, maybe a certain specific, like porcupines would come up for me for a while, or hedgehogs, or skunks. I would think to myself, just naturally, I want to know what the characteristics are of this animal. So I would look it up, because I wanted to connect to that medicine. What is it trying to teach me?
Right.
So I think a lot of people kind of find their way into shamanism, like in modern days,
Right.
through that avenue.
Right. So I think a lot of times, if you're more academic, or if you're more logic brain thinking, you can take a look at the animals and animal medicine as a metaphor for certain things and aspects of life. So each one of these animals, they manifest specific types of characteristics and traits that basically do things. From an animistic perspective, the animals are our teachers. So the tribes previously, in different modalities, they believe that these animals teach us a certain way of life, and the lessons, the life lessons that we take along to be better people. So for instance, that a bear is, for instance, a loving type of creature, even though it is extremely strong, and that it cares for its family. Or that, for instance, the hummingbird is an animal that has a heart that is almost impossible to understand. The heart beats up to 1,200 beats a minute, I think. It's a very small bird and flaps its wings extremely quickly, and it can fly over longer distances. And it teaches us that even something small can have so much energy in it that you should never underestimate it, and that there are qualities in there that you don't always see on the surface. Going deeper to find more meaning. Or deers, for instance, the act of sacrificing for the greater good, being loving in nature, or in general, and using that love to inspire people around us and to help other people grow and heal.
Yeah. And then also, a lot of people find their way into shamanism through journey work.
Yeah. Journey work is an interesting one. That's where the psychology part comes back into play. So you're dealing with different energies, and shamanic journey work is basically awake dreaming. We typically use drum beats, around 90 to 110 beats per minute, to basically mimic the heart. And what that basically does, it allows us to go into this wake dream state where we can process information and turn off different aspects of our brain that usually stand in our way. So it's kind of like a meditation that lets us connect to things around us and interpret meanings that we usually are not able to see because that part of our brain prevents that from happening. So from a spiritual perspective, um, the tribes in the past and practitioners believe that when we do these journeys, it allows us to connect with the web of life. It allows us to connect with the universe and all these different energies, animals, spirits, and other things that are around us so that we can learn and incorporate these things and find out, what are the different things that we need to think about or talk about. How do I live my life, and what is my belief system? Where did I get this belief system from? Are there things that are impacting me that I don't necessarily see? Are there energies that are impacting me negatively or positively? And journeying is one of the most important aspects of shamanic work, I believe, because it allows us to process these things in a way, shape, or form that can enable healing, real healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always feel so much better after I journey.
Yeah.
And I always say to myself, why didn't I do that sooner?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, because people think that, oh, well, there's hocus pocus, or maybe that's not something that I should do, or maybe if I do this and it's against my religion. It's not. Shamanism does not tell you to judge a different religion. Shamanism just tells you have a direct connection to source, whatever the name of that source is, whether it's God, Allah, or whatever, or Buddha. There's no name that we ascribe to it besides source. The tribes do have their own names, but that's then more their thing. We don't basically take away those cultural differences from others and claim them as ours, right? So that connection to source is important because when we're processing things, trying to understand what life is doing to us or for us, understanding that universal connection to everything is important because we want to be inspired and we want to do the right things. We want to ask questions and get answers. And where some religions are basically saying you need to do a certain thing in order to have a direct connection to God, shamanism says, dude, you already have an automatic connection, regardless of who you are, where you are. You have a direct connection to source. That is your birthright. And that's how you work with these things and with source to find out what you need to do.
Right. Going back to it, it's all one. It's all one.
Right.
There's no separation from one.
Right. Right. And again here, because I've done a little bit more research, when you take a look at the old mystery schools, the Greeks and the Romans, the old mystery schools taught us that the beginning of the universe, they talk about Sophia as a divine feminine influence, but also that influence that's separated from God or the universal consciousness. And some of the stories back then was just basically saying, well, consciousness was everything and nothing at the same time, and it kind of got bored. So from this boredom, that consciousness, that part of that Sophia, that feminine piece, separated and want to experience life and the universe more than just being everything and anything at the same time, right? So that was the beginning of questioning, okay, well, universal consciousness, what does that really mean? How do we use those different questions in philosophy and other things? And the rest I can think is history, right? Yeah. So one of those paths, there's multiple paths.
Right. And so with the Silver Crow method, you also blend in Stoicism.
Right. Right. So I think Stoicism was my personal mix on things. When you tend to be very passionate about things and very emotional, there's great energy and strength in that, but there's also great energy and strength when you use those emotions in a way that lets you navigate situations. I'm not saying you become absolutely emotionless. I'm just saying the realization in Stoicism is try to manage your emotions. The more important lessons here are that you only influence yourself and your emotions and your emotional state. You do not influence others. And that's letting go of that mindset of you control everything. Right? And I think that's a healthy way to view life, that you don't control other people and you don't control everything in life. When you release that part, and Buddhism says the same thing, the greatest suffering is that you believe that you can build up your riches and take everything with you. And when someone tries to take something away from you, you have to constantly fight your fingers. Right. And shamanism tells you basically that, the Stoic shamanism perspective says, in managing your own emotions and your own internal state, you make better decisions. You can open up yourself, like your heart and other things, and see things as they are from your perspective, and then not try to judge others. The other thing is you can't really influence other people, and every time you try to do that, it doesn't work out.
Right.
So if you try to manipulate someone, you may think that you're getting away with it, but over time you don't.
Right.
And then there's that energetic piece of that. The more you try to take energy away from other people, the more your own energy gets sucked away by the same things that are telling you that's the only way you can live.
Yeah, and so then that also goes back to sovereignty, which is a big part of the Silver Crow method.
Right, exactly. So then sovereignty is, I have a right to exist. I have a right to my emotions, to my ideas, and to my way of life. And I respect the way other people approach their life, but I also expect that other people respect mine. And that means if I have my space and you're trying to impact on my space and I don't allow you to do that, then I push back. And you can push back energetically, whether it's Tai Chi Qigong with those practices. You can push back by basically saying, no, that's it, not further. Personal space, those kind of things. And when you respect that sovereignty of all living beings, of the earth, of other human beings, I think it makes for a better way of living.
Yeah.
But it also forces us to ask some difficult questions. Do I give my power to others so that I fit in? Do I surrender my sovereignty so that I am the peacekeeper and everyone else that disrespects me, I just accept that? Is that the right way to live or not? And that's when it starts getting really interesting.
Absolutely. And then it's also not letting people take your energy from you.
Right.
Being conscientious about where you're putting your attention, where you're putting your energy, and what you're spending time with as well.
Right. Yeah, so what do I invest my time and my energy in influences what my life is going to be. If I'm investing my energy in things that force me to spiral out of control, it produces more chaos, disruption that doesn't really serve my purpose. And there's different reasons why people do that. So some of the things that we teach in the Silver Crow method are about how do you build your inner dialogue? Where does that come from? And what are the ways that you can use through shamanic healing and the different modality practices that we teach to reset your nervous system, but also to focus in on those things that take away your sovereignty and changing those so that you are happier, you have a more fulfilled life. And for instance, you get rid of stress and anxiety.
So you're operating from a stress-free, non-external influenced point of view.
Right. Yeah. So you try to alleviate as much stress as possible. Completely stress less is, I think, almost impossible because part of stress is a normal body reaction.
Yeah.
But you can manage that stress, and if you can manage that stress, it gives you better options.
Right. And stress is always an opportunity for growth. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So sometimes the stress is, well, if you put your finger next to the match, you're going to burn your finger. And if I do that, oh man, I burnt my finger. Well, maybe that wasn't the right reaction, right?
Yes.
Or I need to get things done in a certain time because otherwise then I'm going to pass this, or this appointment's going to get missed or that. I mean, that's stress that is normal, that helps us to regulate and organize our lives in certain ways that is important. But the other stressors, when people try to pressure or manipulate us, those are the negative things that we push back on. Or when we've learned to live life a certain way and it doesn't serve us positively, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, once you start putting those things into practice, you can actually see other people spiraling in their stuff a lot more clearer than you could before.
Yeah. So part of, and that's the interesting piece, the Silver Crow method combines different modalities. So we combine auricular therapy using the points on the vagus nerve in the ear to basically help with anxiety, depression, etc. in real, meaningful ways. But we also use the shamanism to basically focus in on that inner dialogue that we have and how can we change that to serve a better purpose for us. And then we also use frequencies in the music that I produce to basically give people different options of relaxing or using prayer bowls or basically using drumming techniques to basically relax, reset your nervous system, and give you better options.
Yeah. That's great. Well, do you want to add anything else to this?
I mean, if there's something that I would add, I think the interesting thing about people that gravitate towards being practitioners in shamanism is we start off with living like everyone else does in our lives, and we ask ourselves the question, okay, well, why is my life like this? Why am I broken? Because a lot of the things that you're taught are, if you don't think a certain way or don't do things a certain way, then something's wrong with you.
It's that hero's journey, right?
The hero's journey, right. And then what are the things that the hero needs to do, the realizations that we need to do along this journey to be the actual hero, and make sometimes those tough decisions, or to make those changes in us and the way we view and build our world in a way that's more meaningful, more positive, more fulfilling, and more happy. More happy, or happier.
Happier.
Yeah. So I think if you get a chance, rather than be focused on where's the history of shamanism, I would say try it. If you've ever asked yourself the question, is there things that I can do to help me in my life to react in a way that enables more possibilities, positive possibilities? I think shamanism is a great way to start and to look at. If you have issues with nervous system, like we all do, and how to reset that, shamanism gives us a lot of different ways, or the Silver Crow method gives us different ways of doing it and incorporating these different tools. And if there are things that you, belief systems that you're carrying along that are producing results that are not what you hope and wish they would be, that's another thing that can help us. You're not broken. There's just things that we learned in the past, certain types of methods and belief systems that we built over time in our cultures. And there's a way to change that in a way that's positive, without saying this religion or that religion is good or bad. Just focusing on ourselves and being happier. Focusing in on being that energy, that balance that we really desperately need and want in our lives.
So, just one last thing. What would you say to people who do not know anything about shamanism, but they think the word means something like voodoo, or like you said, hocus pocus, or sorcery, or devil worship, or something like that? Because the non-educated person, their mind might go somewhere like that.
Right. It's none of those things. And if you think about the history,
it's the furthest away from it.
So the academic in me says that all the different cultures before mainstream religions existed had a form of shamanism. And if it wasn't for shamanism at that point in time, before these religions were there, we wouldn't have the organization of humans in communities and groups. So the elders passed on their stories to the tribes, and the shamans were, or the medicine people, were basically the ones that established that connection to source, to spirit, so that we can interpret things, understand, how the weather was moving, understand the world that we live in, Mother Gaia, or the earth, whatever we want to call that, how it functioned and worked, but also how we work as human beings. So it's not hocus pocus, it's not witchcraft, it's certainly not Satanism, because shamanism doesn't tell you to judge another religion. It tells you to work with the energy and the things that you feel and know in your heart, to basically have a better connection with Source, or with God, or with Allah, or whatever you call that thing. So it's the furthest from Satanism or anything else like that, or voodoo, that I can think of. It's a system that basically helps us regulate our nervous system, that we use wake dreaming to change the things in our aspects in our lives that we want to change. And it's really something that's positive for me, at least. And I see the changes in other people that we talk to. When we do these journeys and we do this healing that you see, that's an important thing. A shaman is not a healer. A shaman is a guide. No shaman, no real shaman will ever tell you that they are a healer, because that's not true. We are just guides. We guide you along a specific path in a dream that you are having, or that we are having, that collective dream, or your personal dreams. And from that dream, you get the information and medicines that you need from different types of, helping guides or helping spirits, or whatever we want to call them, that help you change your life in positive ways. So, shaman is a guide. We're not healers. And that's a privilege, but also a very big responsibility. So with that, I hope that you liked this short excursion. There's a lot more about this. We tried to keep things in a finite, time limit here. And if this has interested you, please join our groups on Facebook, our YouTube channel, and Instagram. There's different stories that we tell. There's different teachings that are there that Silver Crow Method does. There's different music out there on SoundCloud, Apple, and Spotify. Just reach out and let us know what you'd like to see. If there's something that you're struggling with, let us know and we'll help you. We can book one-to-one journeys or Zoom sessions, We can help you with retreats, which we're working on. We can help you with teas and different things from our web shop that's going to be up and running fairly soon. So just let us know, reach out, and join the group. That's where a lot of this information comes in for free.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also wanted to add about the journeying. I think some people have perception that it's something that has to be done with shaman in Costa Rica under ayahuasca,
No.
and it's just like a one-time event.
Right.
The way that you teach it is you can access this every day.
Yeah.
Sober.
Right. Exactly. You don't need any drugs. All what would be good is if you're in a room and you can sit down in that room for 20 to 30 minutes. You can do a journey completely by yourself. Just have like a drumming track or something that calms you down, whichever music does that for you. For some people, it's classical music. For others, it's Tibetan bowl, prayer bowls. For others, it's drumming. Drumming, I think, has been the best experience, especially the buffalo drum because of its bass. It helps you to relax, and that's why I use the buffalo drum and my specific drum a lot in all of my journeys. So you don't need drugs, you don't need ayahuasca, you don't have to travel to a specific country to do this. Everyone can start journeying at their home, in their own rooms, in the privacy of their own homes.
Yeah, and that's that sovereignty piece that you teach.
Exactly. Yeah, so if you'd like to know more about journeying, you'd like to start some journeys, just let us know. Either we'll put out another video on that, or we'll have an online session where we can do some journey work together.
That sounds fun.
And we also have courses where we teach this too. So, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Thanks a lot. Bye.